Jennifer from Flux. In this video, I'm going to show you how to crochet these super cute Winter's Warmth slipper socks. These are very, very easy to make. And a lot of you left some great comments about the home all day slipper socks, which are very similar construction. These are a basic sort of tube sock. And then I've kind of made them more wintry looking by adding a furry, fluffy top, which is optional. You can leave them plain if you like, but it makes them a little fun and very cozy looking. These socks measure about 14 inches from the bottom to the top and have about a 9-inch circumference. However, you can make them taller simply by working more rounds of the pattern as well. For this project, you'll need a 6.5mm K crochet hook, a pair of scissors, a tapestry needle, a ruler or tape measure is super helpful as you work your project, and your yarn. I'm going to be using Red Heart with Love. This is the pewter colorway. I don't have the label for it because I have it left over from the Cottontail slouch hat. If you're interested in that hat, I'll put the link down below for that. But that's a fun, sort of modern slouchy hat. But this was the yarn I had left over from that. So it's not really a full ball of that, but this is the pewter colorway. And if you need to substitute yarn, just look for a yarn that recommends the K 6.5mm crochet hook for that. And if you want to add the fun kind of fuzzy top to the socks to make them look extra wintry, I have here, this is Red Heart Fur. This is a novelty eyelash yarn. It's not real fur or anything like that. It's a faux looking fur, but you can see it's a very fluffy yarn and you can use it to accent the top of your socks if you want to give them a little bit of fluffiness as well. So let's get started. Okay, so to begin our socks, we're going to start with the bottom part. So we're going to grab the gray yarn. So what we want to do to begin, we're going to work these from the bottom up to the top, and then if you want to, you can add the decorative fluffy top to them. So what we need to do is put a slip knot on our hook. Wrap the yarn around your fingers to make a loop. Bring the yarn behind the loop, reach in with your hook, bring up the loop, and tighten. Next, we're going to chain 4. So wrap yarn around hook, bring it through the loop. That's 1, 2, 3, and 4. And we're going to create a ring. So in the chain farthest from our hook, we're going to insert the hook, bring up a loop. Now bring that loop through the loop already on your hook. This is the ring that we'll be working our stitches into. As a side note, if you prefer the magic ring, definitely feel free to do that instead, okay? So let's begin round 1. For round 1, we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Now this is going to count as a double crochet to begin our round. Then we're going to work 11 double crochets into the center of the ring. So to make a double crochet, wrap yarn around hook, insert it into the center of the ring, bring up a loop, wrap yarn around hook, bring it through the first 2 loops, wrap yarn around hook, bring it through the last 2 loops. Okay, so we're going to make a total of 11. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm just going to set that down and grab a little bit more yarn. Like I mentioned, I use this for another project, so sometimes when we use yarn from our stash, it gets a little label-less and doesn't look exactly the way it looks when you first buy it. Okay, so that was 7, so let's do 8, 9, 10, and 11. Now remember that chain 3 we did at the beginning of the round, how it counted as one of the double crochets? So you'll have 12 spokes altogether on your circle here. So what we're going to do is join with a slip stitch to close the round. So count 1, 2, 3 chains up, insert your hook in that chain, bring up a loop, bring that loop through the loop already on your hook. So we're going to close the round with a slip stitch. Now I did hold my tail along the edge as I worked my stitches, so you can pull that tight to close up that hole in the center. So close it up so it kind of touches itself. And then we're ready to move on to round 2. So for round 2, we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. And then in this very first stitch here, we're going to work a double crochet, the very first stitch that you come to. And then in each stitch all the way around, we're going to work 2 double crochets. So this next stitch you come to, work 2 double crochet, next stitch. So see how I did it both in that same stitch? Next stitch, 2 double crochet, so 1 and 2. Next stitch, 2 double crochet, 1 and 2. So what we're doing is we're working again from the toe up, so we're building some increases here so we can go around the foot. Okay, work 2 double crochet in the next stitch. These make wonderful gifts as well. These will fit an adult woman size, and they're pretty stretchy and forgiving so that they'll fit a variety of foot sizes as well. And if you need to go up a sock size, a very easy way to do this would be to pick a yarn that's a little bit thicker and a hook that's just slightly larger than the one I'm using. That's a very easy way to size up. Likewise, if you want to make your socks a little bit smaller, you can go down a hook size and yarn weight for that. So I'm still working 2 double crochets in each stitch all the way around. And now we are just about back to where we started. Okay, so we're going to go 1, 2, 3 in that third chain up, join with a slip stitch, whoops, to close the round. Okay? So round 2 is complete and we have a nice circle, and that will be the bottom of our sock. Okay, so for round 3, we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and this time we've gotten, you know, the increase that we need. So this time we're going to work a double crochet in each stitch. So 1 double crochet in each stitch this time. So work your first double crochet, your next double crochet. You'll notice that the construction of these socks, we're not doing a fancy heel or anything like that. These are going to be like a simple sort of tube sock style. That was a tongue twister. So very simple construction, very simple increases at the beginning only. Okay, and then they're the little decorative top if you wish. Okay, so just keep working your double crochets in each stitch all the way around, and we're just building a cylinder basically with a tapered bottom. Okay, and as you can see how it's curling? That's a good thing. That's building the shape of our sock. Okay, so I'm just working double crochets all the way around. Now this pattern, because of its simple construction, is very easy in terms of customization. So if you want a very tall sock to go up the leg more, you know, you can just keep working rounds. Okay, we're just more about that in just a moment, but we're just coming around our round here, and I want to show you how to finish off the round before we talk more about that. Okay, so we're going to just work a last stitch, count 3 chains up, and join with a slip stitch, same thing we did before, just like that. Okay, so what you're going to do, the round that we just did, round 3, you're just going to repeat that over and over and over until your sock is as tall as you would like it to be. So when I make my socks, I try them on repeatedly until they're as tall as I would like them to be. Now these are going to be slipper socks, so I'm going to make mine a little bit shorter, sort of like a taller ankle length, okay? Just kind of big enough to go over the ankle. So I'm going to keep working my round 3, and we'll rejoin in just a minute, and I'm going to show you the rest of the sock. And then we're going to work on the top edging and the finish work of our socks. So super duper easy socks. These make wonderful, really fast last minute gifts as well. So just keep repeating round 3 over and over. Also, feel free, if you need to see this round a few more times, back up the video and watch it as many times as you'd like, okay? So we're just gonna repeat round 3 until your sock is as tall as you would like it to be. I'm gonna go just over the ankle and we'll rejoin in just a moment. Okay, so I'm just working that very last stitch, and then we're gonna join with a slip stitch to close the round into that topmost chain. And my sock is as tall as I'd like it to be. Remember, you can make these as tall as you want. You can make them go much higher if you like. I want mine to be just above the ankle. So I'm going to grab my scissors. And just as a reference, from toe to the top, they're about 11 inches. So I worked mine for about 11 inches. And make sure that your socks... Let me just fasten this off so I can show you. Wrap the yarn around your hook and just pull that through once you've cut the yarn. Just make sure your socks are of equal height and have the same number of rows as well. Okay, you can even like lay them on top of one another and sort of line them up. So the next thing we want to do is we're gonna add this fun novelty yarn top. Now this is totally optional. You can leave them just like this. And I believe earlier in the video I mentioned that this is like a tube sock style, so super easy construction. So I'm just going to thread my tapestry needle and then go into the inside part of your sock and then just thread. Go up into those stitches, pull that through, and then come back down and then trim, okay? So we're just going to take our scissors and trim. And just as a side note, it looks really cute if you flip it down like that too. But we are going to add this fun novelty yarn topper. So what you want to do, now you can see it's very, very fluffy. So what we're going to do is we're going to, where we left off, you're going to insert your hook into that same stitch. Okay, and then bring the yarn through. Now this is a little thick for a K hook, but we can still make it work. Okay, it's going to make a nice little edge. And this is just, we're just going to go one time around the top of this. So go ahead and tie that right on, just like that. And you might want to like get these little fluffy pieces out from your knot just to kind of fluff it up. Okay, so then we're going to go back into, let me just grab a little bit of this yarn. Again, we're just going to put a little simple edge around the top. We're going to go back into that same stitch where we tied it on, bring up a loop, chain one, and take your time with this. This has a lot of fibers sticking out. Okay, now go into the first stitch, bring up a loop, wrap yarn around hook, bring it through both loops. Insert the hook into the next stitch, bring up a loop, wrap yarn around hook, bring it through both loops. Because of the fluffiness of this yarn, and we're gonna fluff up these fibers when we're done, you're only gonna need to do simple single crochet stitches and not a lot of fuss. So we're just gonna do one round all the way around. So just work a single crochet. And again, the K hook is a little small for this yarn, but it's still doing the job, okay? It looks like feathers. It's so interesting. Okay, so just bring up a loop and work your single crochets all the way around, and it's going to add a fun top to your slipper socks. Very festive, and these also make a wonderful, very fast gift. And, you know, you don't necessarily have to use novelty yarn like this. There are lots of other novelty yarns. There's pom-pom yarn, where there's little tiny pom-poms all over it. There's... And you don't necessarily have to use this kind of novelty yarn. There's pom-pom yarn where it has little... Whoops, I dropped my stitch. Where it uses little tiny pom-poms, and that would be really cute for a pair of slippers. You can use yarn with sequins and all kinds of fun stuff. There we go. All right, I'm just continuing all the way around with my fun festive yarn here. Now, with a lot of these novelty yarns, such as this one, there is like a central line or thread that runs through the center. So just while you're working with this yarn, just try to focus on that central line that runs through the middle of it. And again, we're going to be fluffing this up when we're finished. Get all those fibers nice and fluffy. Whoops. It's easy to drop your stitch because there's so much to see here. There's a lot of texture happening. Okay, so we're just gonna go right back into that stitch. And my hook is going through this yarn pretty easily. The fibers, or the eyelash pieces of this yarn, are very silky, so it does pass through very easy. Despite all the texture, it is a pretty easy yarn to work with. Okay, so we are at the end of our round, and that's a really fast way to put on some fun texture there. Okay, so right back where we started, just try to like feel in there for a loop. And there it is. Actually, there we go. Okay, so just insert your hook into one of the loops from the fluffy yarn. Grab your strand, and we're just going to pull it through to join. It's hard to see, you have to kind of feel your way through, okay? So we're left with one loop. So then we can cut the yarn, wrap it around the hook, and pull it through to tighten. Now, I will say that weaving in ends with this type of yarn is very easy because it certainly hides a lot, okay? So here is the top of our slipper sock. How fun is that? Now we have these two ends. Let's go ahead and tie them together just to make sure everything is nice and secure. This almost looks like a stocking. Okay, and then just you don't really have to weave it in. Everything will sort of blend in. You can just trim them to the same length as the other ones. And if you have a long piece like here, just trim it back a little bit, okay? So if you have any little remaining fibers. Now just go around and sort of fluff up your slipper sock. I gotta say, I really love these cute little slippers, okay? So let's get this out of the way so I can show you. Our slipper sock is finished. How fun is that? Now you have your topper and then the sock part, and these are really easy to wear. Now we want to, I just want to double check this. This is machine wash and dry, the fur yarn, and the bottom, the With Love yarn, is also machine wash and dry. So that is, in my opinion, makes a great candidate for gift giving. Now see how some of these, from working the stitches, they kind of get folded up in there. You might want to take your tapestry needle, see how they kind of like get folded into the stitch as you work, and just kind of pull some of those fibers out. So if you're running into that, just grab your pointy tapestry needle and you can kind of dig those loops out if you're running into that. Okay, so our slipper socks are done, and I'm going to repeat the same for the other one, but I wanted to keep the other one without the topper just so you could compare them a little bit here. So that is how you make the Winter's Warmth slipper socks. Thanks so much for watching, and be sure and click the subscribe button to get all the latest Fiber Flux video updates. Thanks again.